Supervisor Fletcher?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, as a board, we deal with some vexing issues. We deal with some complicated issues, some difficult issues. Rebuilding our regional behavioral health system is very complex and hard. Addressing the inequities in our child welfare system is hard and challenging, and we work hard. Today is not one of those days. Today is not one of those days where we're dealing with something that's incredibly complex or difficult. Today is simply a day to say, do we do what we are tasked to do as a county in administering elections? Elections are what we do. It is clearly outlined that counties administer and run elections. It's a basically held belief and principle that we should do everything we can to provide access to the ballot. In order to govern with the consent of the governed, you have to get their consent, which is what you do via an election. It's not something we do when it's convenient or easy or if we feel like it. This is the essence of a core foundation of what county governments do in the state of California. We also happen to be a subdivision of the state of California. A huge section of what we do is administering state programs and intentions. And if folks don't like the action of state government, there's a way to rectify that. We have a ballot. We have an election. We run those elections. Put your name on the ballot and run on a platform of denying people access to the ballot and see how far that gets you. But as long as we exist in a society where we democratically elect people and they make decisions, then we have to implement those decisions. And it was so incredibly perplexing to me on this issue to see a headline in a news story that says, voting breaks the brain of the county. Like the notion that like we can't like set aside a reasonable policy debate about a vote center model, which the majority of this board didn't want to move forward with. I had to respect the majority of the board. I respect that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 4 little vote centers, little satellite offices, to give the residents of the other supervisorial districts something that every resident in my district has had for a long time. We're talking about a cost that is less than 0.01% of the budget. We find money to do all kinds of things that are optional, and this is something that is core to what we have to do. And this notion of like we're diving off in these bizarre conspiracy theories, I was notified the same as all the other supervisors were. We were having a special meeting. I didn't have any conversations with Supervisor Jacob about it. I had to move some things around on my calendar. But it turns out as a board, we can work more than 4 days a month. Showing up 1 extra day is not like overly taxing. It's not overly impossible because the clock is ticking on doing this. I also have not seen such fierce objection to 1 person, 1 vote, to providing reasonable access to the ballot in any reasonable time. I teach a class on the Voting Rights Act. I got to go back to 1964 to find people so fiercely opposed to just doing modest things to let people vote. All the county rules have been followed. The notion of like secrecy and secret societies was JFK talking about a legitimate existential threat to the First Amendment in a period of war, not a Brown Act compliant meeting which was publicly noticed. Conversations about we've met the enemy. I've met the enemy on the field of battle. That's an enemy. This is a debate about how many polling locations we have. I mean, there's an absurdity to the hysteria and the conspiracy notions of what we're talking about today. It's fine to say, I don't think we should have more polling. That's fine. That's fine. But I just think as a county, this is our job. And this is what we do. And so to the notion that the majority of the board making a decision consistent with all the rules of the county in an open meeting that has been publicly noticed to simply do something that might help our elections get done on time and in compliance with state law is something that I wholly support and I think is entirely appropriate. And I'm pleased to see this board doing the right thing. Thank you.